Hey everyone, welcome back to Grind and Shine. Today we are super excited for our last episode to have Leon, the founder of Papa Paletta, also known as PPP Coffee now, Chai Seng Hua Hardware, and he is also the founder and CEO of Morning. Welcome, Leon.
Thank you for having me. Very delighted to be here today.
And as you can see, we are in the very beautiful office of Morning.
If you don't see the mess behind,
there's no mess. It's a very elegant and nice place. Maybe before we start, Leon, can you introduce to all of us who you are, a bit of your background? Yeah.
As mentioned, currently I am the co-founder and CEO of Morning, but I started my coffee journey in 2009, and that's where it all began. And when I first started the business, it began with the idea that I think I was at the right place at the right time, and that was during the 08-09 crisis, and coffee kind of fell onto my lap, where I stumbled upon this opportunity that I think there was not many freshly roasted coffee in Singapore.
Yeah.
And traceability and transparency wasn't a big thing. And I think the other one was that there were not many coffee equipment that were tailored to these high-end coffees.
Yeah.
And I think in the rest of the world there was this boom. So I think in 2009 I started the coffee business.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we did was actually to wholesale coffee. But then when we found out that we got really good coffee, but then I think very similar to the makeup industry, you actually really want to try it on your skin, and then you see how it actually is, and then you will buy. So I think coffee had that notion that I read the bag, I see the tasting notes, I try to press and smell, and then I'll bring back home and I try my best to get those flavors, and you're like, this is actually not what I like. So when we first started, we said, I think we need to make people taste the coffee, or let them sample the coffee, so then they will buy the beans.
Yeah.
And then that grew to somewhat of a lucky opportunity where a lot of people started tasting coffee.
Yeah.
And buying. So I wanted to buy the beans, right? But then they keep coming like, I want to have coffee. So we had a tip jar in my first shop, that because I don't have a license to sell coffee, but I said, anyway, you can buy the bag of beans, but please try the coffee first. So then they said, I'll just come for coffee. Then they just started tipping.
Yeah.
But the main idea was that led to the idea is, if I really want to showcase the coffee that we were sourcing and buying and freshly roasting, we needed a cafe to do that. And that led on to the cafes that we set up. I think the iconic one that you all remember and is still there is Chai Seng Hua. And I think that happened in 2012, where it was quite novel to see on the side of the cafe where people are roasting coffee, and on the other side, people were drinking the coffee that was roasted there.
Yeah.
And I think now it's quite common, and I think it's very, very good that everything is very fresh.
Yeah.
And people are looking at roast dates, people are looking at taste profiles. And what we did from then is, I think that was one side of the business, which is wholesale. We grew that business because we realized we have all these great coffees, but we really need some of the best equipment to brew them. And I think it's this early stage, right? We were like pre-Instagram, or maybe they're just starting out. I think we hunt across the globe to find really good equipment, and somehow try to convince them that, we would like to represent you and then service this equipment in Singapore. So that was another segment of the business that we built.
Yeah.
Today it's called Stella Machines, right? And the idea was, that was also that in that era where people were servicing machines, but they weren't treating the customers the way they should, which means diagnosing this problem and understanding it and changing what's needed to be changed. So for example, the analogy I like to give is, people will go up to the cafe and then they put their toolbox on the counter, and then they just try to change all the parts and then solve the problem. But they should really diagnose the problem, and then treat it, service the right part, and then do preventive maintenance, so then you wouldn't get breakdowns. So I think we were early stages of that, and I think we were very disciplined in trying to build that side of the business. So That was the other one. And then about 5 years later, there was this eureka moment where I felt that there was something that we could do in the pod space.
Yeah.
I think when the patent for Nespresso expired, some of the best coffee shops around the world started putting really good coffee in pods, and the technology has advanced quite a bit. That means it seals really well. We felt that we could make a machine and an ecosystem that with one touch of a button, you bring roaster design recipes. So the thing about this is the final piece is that I've been a roaster, a green bean buyer, coffee tech, barista, but I think at the heart of it, I've always been what I call a home brewer. And not an ordinary home brewer. The home brewer is like, yeah, I'm frustrated with this and that, I want it right. Like many of your listeners, like you really want good coffee. But I'm also very, very lazy. So, and the missing piece is that I can get the water right, I can get the coffee right. But I think the missing piece for me to get the tasting notes on the back was recipes.
Yeah.
So then we made the morning machine, and we made the app and the ecosystem that the roasters would then upload their recipes. You press a button and then you're brewing roaster design recipes. So precise temperature control, that means whether it's light roast or dark roast. Pressure profile. So as it comes out from the nozzle, it's flowing at the right rate.
Yeah.
Not too fast, not too slow, or whether you want it fast or slow, you can control. And the last one is the scale.
Yeah.
So you get exact output all the time. But lazy, right? So press a button, brew roaster design recipes. Or you can take a picture of a box and then brew roaster design recipes. So the last maybe 5 years, I've been really busy with that. And that's a different side of the journey in my coffee career.
Yeah. Wow. That's a very concise summary of your 15 years from 2009 all the way to 2024. What were some of the proudest achievements from Papa Paletta and until now in morning?
Maybe I would share a few moments or stories that I could relate to that I'm quite proud of. And it's slightly different from the usual. So the first one was when we first started out, I think competitions were quite big, but I think I focused quite a bit on sourcing and building the relationship with farmers. So that golden moment, the proud moment, was that we've been buying for them for a few years. And after visiting them and buying them for a few years, when we go back to the farm and we would bring that one bag of coffee that traveled around the world, that we're serving his coffee, telling his story, back to the farm and have a coffee with him. So I think those were proud moments because that relationship has been built. And maybe it's quite easy to buy from a farm one time, but it's actually quite hard to be consistently buying from a farm and building a relationship. So I think this is the first proud moment we had with some of the farmers that we had and buying from. The second one that we had was, I think when we have employees or friends who tell us stories about their experience with the brand. So this second proud moment came from like employees who used to work together or colleagues that used to work together, and then that kind of inspired them to open their own cafe.
Yeah.
And this inspiration didn't stop there, because what we wanted to do is the fact that we created Chai Xing Hua PPP coffee in a very early stage where I kind of like put everything into it and took the risk to showcase what we believed in and we're passionate about.
Yeah.
I heard stories that also inspired them to open their own cafe.
Yeah.
But on the same moment, because people who come through the company also developed coffee careers, who became coffee traders, who became coffee trainers. So I think this is proud moments that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
The third one is when you hear stories of moments that you created because of the product we did. So a friend of mine who is a founder of another company, he said when they left their job, they all had coffee in Chai Xing Hua, and then they were brainstorming and that came up with the idea for quite a big company now that they run.
Yeah.
And another one where so-and-so met at Chai Xing Hua. One was an employee, one was a customer, and they got married, and now it's like a love story.
Yeah.
I might add one more because in the recent years, we really created a first of its kind coffee machine which is the morning machine and the ecosystem. And I think when we did that, and we were in trade shows and we were going to fairs,
Yeah.
we felt that we really put Singapore on the map on trying to create the first of its kind, and people are going, wow,
Yeah.
amazing. So this is also another very proud moment because it wasn't easy to do,
Yeah.
and hardware is actually indeed hard. And I think through the help of the co-founder, my co-founder and my colleagues, I think being able to craft a path to make morning a reality was another proud moment.
Yeah. Do you always have these achievements in your mind?
To be honest, I mean, the journey has also not been easy.
Yeah.
So like there are like these proud moments, but there will always be like stories of like, oh my god, this is impossible to do. How am I going to achieve this? Wow, we are like so close to death, like company death so many times. So I think it wasn't straightforward. Yeah. No, I didn't have the end in mind, and it wasn't like an easy path. It's like that, and then sometimes we had to think out of the box to get there.
Yeah. So, speaking of thinking out of the box, for example, for Papa Paletta, you introduced third wave coffee to Singapore, maybe alongside a few other players. Did you worry that, okay, maybe this wouldn't work, or people may not like it? The customers may not like specialty coffee, and how did you take the risk of, let's do it? We need this.
I try my best, because I think there's this part where there is a lot of risk in everything that everybody does, especially with trying to open your own business, and then even more so with F&B, even more so with coffee. I was young. I was in my 20s, and I thought, what could I lose, right? And I wouldn't say that I brought these new ideas entirely, because some of these ideas existed in different parts of the world. I think what was more important was not like, was I afraid to fail or succeed? I said I was young, right? So means the opportunity cost for me was at its lowest. But then it was also at its highest, because if I get deeper and deeper into it, I cannot pivot my career, right? But I think the lesson that I learned was, it wasn't just about the product or what we were trying to do or whether it was innovative. I would say that ultimately it was timing. Instead of location, right?
Yeah.
So timing was absolutely important, because I think we were, all the company, all the market or industry, and even where I was kind of lucky to be at the right place at the right time. Obviously I had to time it, so doesn't mean that if I do this earlier or later it might have been better, but obviously there were mistakes. So trying to do a specialty coffee shop in 2009, I think I was at the right place, right time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that being the first is the best. But obviously first mover advantages has its perks and pros. But then again, I didn't start big, I started small.
Yeah.
So being small, you could be agile and you could pivot and you could think fast and you could do a lot of things. But I think just to be a bit more concise with the answer, I think timing held a big part in what we were trying to achieve in terms of the milestones we were trying to create. I think some people were saying that in the industry in UK and different countries, they said, if you were trying to do the same thing again today, it's going to be like 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Competition is different, information is different. I think that opportunity wouldn't present itself again.
Yes.
However, doesn't mean that you cannot do it, and doesn't mean that you should not do it. It just means that you need to understand the market a bit better, and there will be other opportunities that will present itself. So it would just be full cycle, which is, I think, timing. And there will always be a saying is, oh, last time you can do this, now you cannot. But you shouldn't restrict yourself to that. And then right now, there will always be another rookie, right? Like a young guy who's like, I know what I'm doing. I think there's a gap in market, who can be faster, quicker, and more agile. And I think we need to know and should embrace these people who are trying to contribute to the industry.
Yeah.
And you can time it wrongly. We have done it before. An example is we were pushing cold brew in 2012, but it was really only popular in 2016.
Yeah.
So here I am like, hey, try the cold brew. And then they were saying like, what's this? Where's my iced latte and where's my iced long black?
Yes.
Well then, hey, try cold brew, this is amazing, it's different.
Yeah.
But then we realized like you had to time it where you don't have to be the first. You just have to do it well at the right time.
Yeah.
And we've done that with other things, and I think being focused helps. And I didn't have the luxury of being focused when we first started because I was all over the place.
Yeah.
My mind was like everywhere. Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges or disheartened or disappointing moments in the early days? Because you were young, right? Like you're trying different things.
So many. I think one of the main things was that when you're right at the top, meaning not just at the top of the company, but you have to make the decisions that impact lives and livelihoods and people in the company and the fate of the company. You can make mistakes. And because when I first started and how we funded the company was very different from how we funded Morning. And so then that was just like we had to reinvest. So it wasn't like, boom, we could do it overnight.
Yeah.
So we had to do things that were like not, on the contrary, conventional to compete. So I think some of the tougher moments was when some of your closest employees would leave you because that's only natural. Some of the tougher moments when some business partnerships do not work out, although you have the best intent. Some of the toughest moments were like you get into like cash flow issues with your company, and you have to make decisions, and the mistakes that you made with decisions that you made wrongly. I think living with those might be tough, and obviously it impacts the people around you. So like tough moments, like my wife will ask me, my then girlfriend will ask me, how long you want to do this for? Because you work very hard. Or things like, wow, it's always like, it feels like you're always a trying company.
Yeah.
Like startup. And I feel that, that kind of defined half of my life, but the people around me also had to understand my lifestyle. Like, you cannot go party in the night because next morning you got to open the shop. Something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to be away for a while because we have to go on trips.
Yeah.
And then we need to take certain positions, especially when you're opening a shop or you're trying to pitch for something or you're trying to manage people, and then emotions are there. And I had to grow as a CEO, adapt my leadership style, deal with people of a wide variety of backgrounds, especially the way I would like to say is that when we were growing the business, we were not growing one company, we were growing 3 companies, a wholesale company, an equipment company, and an F&B company. And we were growing in such a way that the way you run these 3 is quite different, and then you have to like switch, right? And you have to go deep in each of them. But maybe I should have grown one, then grown the other, then grown the other. But it didn't happen that way. And that has its perks, because then someone can come to us and say, hey, I have a solution for every part of.
Yes.
And then individually they could grow because then they could service other customers also.
Yeah.
That is not just our own. But I think those were the toughest moments for me, which is the the hardship days, the relationships, and I grew to manage. Staff, friends, family, and them understanding that journey that I'm on, that I have to lead a different life. Because when you start off 20, 30s, and I'm sure many coffee shop owners understand, because your weekends are gone, right? And but then you also work on the weekdays and you work on the weekends, but it's a very different life, because you also are trying to transition from being a young single guy to getting married, and then running a business, and then trying to make a career out of it for not just yourself, but for the people around you. So just those dark days that definitely everybody has lah.
Thank you for sharing all the challenges and hardships. How would you describe your leadership style changes over the years? Because just now you mentioned leadership from the early days, and then Chai Seng Hua, and then 3 companies, and then now Morning.
Well, that's a very good question, and that's a very difficult question for me to answer, because I felt that I've changed a lot, especially in the last maybe 5 years, 6 years. I think when I think of my leadership style, I'm not a CEO who's just trying to run a ship. I'm a CEO who's trying to make a difference in the industry. Or I keep innovating and pushing. Let's do this, let's do that. Or let's find like this niche, or let's do it differently to make sure that we have an identity. And I think a result of that was that the team that I had to put together around me had to understand that my mind was racing.
Yeah.
And I think the style that I have changed quite a bit, and my leadership style changed quite a bit. I think because of the books that I read and the way I do things, I'm of the assumption that people who work with me enjoy working with me because I'm pushing, or they are convinced by the vision.
Yeah.
I would say, truthfully, I'm also not the easiest to work with, because you kind of see, the Chinese word called 默契, right?
Yeah.
You need the right rhythm, then they need to play to your strengths, and they need to play to your weaknesses. I used to use a few analogies, because I'm a product guy trying to be a CEO, right? But then there are other guys who are like, I use this term, some people are salespeople, some people are like operations people, some people might work differently. But I think fundamentally, I care a lot about the product. And I see myself struggling and adapting and changing my style, because as much as I care about the product, but now I have to run the company.
Yeah.
And so then I used a few words to guide me in my leadership style. I think the first one was empathy. But I think empathy on 3 fronts. Empathy for the staff, empathy for the customers, and empathy for the suppliers. And only if I embrace these 3 empathies, then I think it makes my style a bit more unique for the business. And the strength that I have is that I'm trying to get the whole team to sing the same song and run together.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might have I'm unclear, but I'm very self-aware. And because I'm very self-aware, I understand that I will compensate for the part that I need to be clearer with my instructions. I need to be clearer with my communication and vision. And we need to be on the same page towards the same direction. So that has changed drastically, and is still changing. And I'm still adapting to try to be a better leader.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my style.
Since 5 years ago, you started Morning with your co-founder, transitioning to a tech startup. Were you confident that I have done so many businesses before, I'm gonna be all right? Or you were like, oh, this is the first time I'm into the tech space, sort of. What was your confidence like?
It's a good question. So my true feelings. It's interesting because when I said to some friends that I want to make a machine, and their first reaction was like, "Ah, are you crazy?" And then I said, "No, I think I can do it, and I think I can pull it off. I think I know enough. I have enough experience.
Yeah.
I have amassed enough connections. It's not going to be easy, but I think I can put the thing together." And when I said I could put the thing together, meaning the manufacturing side of it, seeing a gap, because you don't want to just put another machine out there. You want to make a difference and you want to create impact. It's like you don't want to just make another capsule machine. I honestly, on hindsight, I didn't know it was so difficult. It was really very difficult. I think there were several aspects of difficult. So the first one was, how am I going to find the right people who understand what I was trying to build, because it didn't exist. What do you mean? Why do you want to put a scale on a capsule machine? Yeah, I want to put a scale on a capsule machine. Why do you want to do pressure profile on this machine? And you want an app, and you want to have a dial and have buttons, and then you can interact, and you want this, and you want a hot water bypass, you want a TDS meter reader inside. They absolutely like, what the hell are you trying to do?
Yeah.
But then the level of difficulty and the thing that I was facing at least is that within the hardware to develop it, to get the firmware guy to talk to the app guy, to explain what we were trying to do, and then to prototype it, was like one big like difficulty, including trying to convince a factory in China who would make the machine for you.
Yeah.
And the difficulty was another level, because then I need to raise money, because it's a big business.
Yeah.
It's capital intensive too. Do hardware. Tooling costs, manufacturing, MOQ, and to present myself a business case, a plan, and I think you would know better, and to pitch to investors and to get other people to believe in the vision and what you're trying to create and see the potential of this big thing.
Yeah.
Was another level.
Yeah.
So you asked me, did I know it was so difficult? I would say that I know it was difficult, but I think the difficulty was many levels, and it's a bit more complex than I expected.
With 15 years of experience, and actually more than 15 years in the coffee industry, you have seen a lot, and you are the OG. When I talk to other people as well, like you're the OG of coffee industry. How do you see the industry evolving, and what are the trends?
First of all, there will always be another OG in my eyes. So I'm quite privileged to be called an OG, but it just happened to be the right time and right place. So I'm thanks for pointing that out. But and 15 years is not actually very long in the whole history compared to other industry players.
Yeah.
So there are many different takes on where coffee is going. Some people are predicting what is the fourth wave. Some people are predicting where the industry is going. So maybe before I do that, I dissect it a bit. There is the global stage, there's the local stage, but there's also the region stage. That's one. The other one is in which aspect of the industry. So maybe I try to go as fast as possible. I think my version on Southeast Asia, Europe, Australia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, I think in terms of this explosion and adoption of specialty coffee are at different pace and different rates. So the one that people will understand the most is the cafe culture. So I would say that Southeast Asia developed quite quickly. Some people say that whatever happened in Singapore and in Thailand and in Indonesia happened really fast faster than what really happened in Australia.
Yeah.
And the rate at which it like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
like bloomed. But then I would say Australia is quite a mature coffee market. So I would say different countries are different at different stage with specialty coffee, and they are excited of it differently, and they are like, oh, this is already happening already,
Yeah.
or this quite common. While some countries, on the contrary, cold brew is new.
Yeah.
But to us, it's like, oh, like the boat has passed already, or like, oh yeah, it's everywhere already. It's in supermarkets,
Yeah.
RTD cans. But I would say that Korea is exploding like crazy. And I think what I feel is that Korea might be the leading one in the whole world. But I would say locally, I think I'm quite proud where Singapore is with the coffee scene or cafe scene. Quite vibrant, very community driven. There's choice, there's variety, there's flavor, there's different idiosyncrasies, different style cafe. But then that's also happening with Korea. Okay, I feel that's slowly happening with Japan, but Japan has this unique style of doing it. But that's just the cafe scene in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Let's say I move to Europe and UK, the rate at which open and close, I think Southeast Asia can compete. This is really quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I think because in Europe it's quite far and spread out, you won't feel like, wow, so many in the area. Actually, there are a few, but it's just quite spread out. But Southeast Asia has a very unique value proposition with coffee because they had local coffee. Whether it's kopi to brew in Indonesia, Vietnamese coffee in Vietnam, kopi in Singapore. The adoption rate with specialty coffee has grown, but there is still the 20%, used to be 80%, or 40%, 20% still that drinks local coffee.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we should be proud of and that we should keep still. But I think the cafe scene is exploding.
Yeah.
And people have moved from just having coffee to having experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's omakase happening, there's this doing that. So it's quite a unique experience with coffee. And people might be experiencing more coffee like wine because they want to know more about the grower.
Yeah.
So great. I think in an agricultural sense, upstream, it's very interesting because whatever happened in Central America with coffee growers is happening to the Southeast Asian coffee growers. It's just a very blanket statement.
Yeah.
Second generation, appreciate farming. Vietnam is a huge coffee grower, but I think the level of which people are paying attention to quality and pushing specialty,
Yeah.
but also pushing up their commercial grade coffee in Southeast Asia has grown tremendously, and that explosion just happened in the last few years. So that is happening right now, where we are proud of Thai coffee growers, we are proud of Indo coffee growers. So from a growing perspective, what I'm just trying to say, the trend is we are getting a lot more quality coffee in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And we're being more proud of local grown coffee, not Singapore because we don't have, Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand. And then when you expand a bit more, India is like a hidden gem. Like huge, but also need to navigate lah.
Yes.
But this explosion of like this coffee happening right now. I wouldn't say Europe because I'm not there, but I think we're not too far away from what's happening there and here. In a general sense, what is happening is the explosion of coffee shops closing down. So the stronger ones survive, the bigger bigger brands move on. And I think there was some sort of consolidation that happened.
Yeah.
So in the coffee shop scene there, but I think trading coffee in Europe and in those parts, what I feel, that trading side is very mature. But what is happening in Eastern Europe, there's this big explosion because very similar in Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
like the demographics, the hunger. So like Czech Republic, Poland, Bulgaria, like boom, boom, boom. This like adoption of specialty coffee is suddenly exploding. So there are different timelines, right?
Yes.
So you can see someone repeating here, some just started.
Yeah.
But then I think with internet penetration, TikTok, Instagram, it might move even faster. But it might go like timing.
Yeah.
But then let's say we go through this cold brew cycle. In Singapore, it was just boom, 1 year, everybody know. But in these countries, because it's bigger, cold brew can be trending for 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
even 4 years, because they haven't reached the full potential.
Yeah.
So in general, that's just my view.
Yeah.
So in theory, this is my take. Roasting's gonna change tremendously. I don't want to put this on record, but I think roasting's gonna change tremendously, and this is the reason why I think it will. Okay, the first thing first is when people roast, and they're micro roasters, they're huge roasters. The technology that we use to heat the drum, whether it's gas trains, whether it's electric, whether it's a heat box below and then transfer up. There are many coffee experts which is just like, when you see a stand at ProBar and different stands, you see them understanding and asking questions like, hey, does it run on natural gas? Does it run on what kind of fuel? Does it run on electric? Because of climate change and carbon credits and the way we're going to deal with carbon emissions, roasting is going to be affected.
Yeah.
Okay. Same as electric cars and car fuel. The truth is, the taste will change tremendously. Okay, so how then can we create that taste profile that's similar to this robust development? So, in my opinion, the roasting industry will change tremendously. And there are some stands and how roasters are being built, and and the technology that is evolving with roast profiles. But I think the elephant in the room will be, how are the burners going to sustain this huge production of coffee?
Yeah.
And when the decree comes down that we need to do something about it, like when we have to be all electric cars, maybe someday that burner will happen, or maybe a tax will come in. But what I'm trying to say is that if I eat the char kway teow on the induction stove, I definitely prefer the wok hei flavor. Okay, not entirely. So what I'm trying to say is that I think this will change, and how we roast, how we be more energy efficient, and how we use fuel and the byproducts with roasting, because it's very close to the consumer, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be something that might have innovation and tech going forward. There's nothing wrong with doing burning the fuel or creating heat, but there's also like afterburners, filtration system. They are also very important, not just like, oh, what's your carbon credit, right? Or what's your carbon emission and output. But I think if you see the latest burners on some of these new innovative roasting companies, then that innovation and trend will come quite a bit in that segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last question to close off the discussion. Is there anything you want to say to the Singapore industry?
I think for the first thing is that if I could say anything to the industry and the community, what I would like to say is I'm very proud and I'm very grateful to be part of it. The good and the bad, the ups and the downs, the idiosyncrasies that we all had. It was never a straight line. Obviously, there's bureaucracy and like this and that, but I think overall where we are today is pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean that there's still some red tapes here and there. We could do things a little bit better. We could do some more vibrant events or whatever, and then things like you are doing and things that other people are doing is pretty amazing. And I'm quite, I would say, proud and grateful. So grateful because it gave me the life that I had, the experiences that I got. Proud is because it's came a long way and we're quite like forward. And I think the things that we're doing, I think people are more open. I think that this competitor this camaraderie. So competitor to camaraderie to like, hey, we're friends in the industry has really gone up. And whether I think where it will go, I think it will only go up. Yeah, I think it will only go up, and I think we could do and have room to go more. There was also something amazing, which was the competitions that also helped build that bond. And I like to mention competitions tend to bond at the what we call the barista level. But then I think that bonding has gone to like trading coffee equipment, servicing, and then nationalistic views on like putting ourselves on the map. I think we have grown tremendously. I think what we worry is that, or at least what I worry, I want to say in the industry is, I would not. The best advice I can give like to someone who's trying to start a career in coffee or a cafe is that I think first of all that cafe dream is very important. Shouldn't tell a person, hey, no, open, but maybe to share like if you know whether you want to start a cafe or own a cafe or create a cafe or operate a cafe, because these four things or these three aspects are very different.
Yeah.
Or you just love the coffee industry. So I think that would be a good starting point, but I think it's a very exciting time because and I think we reached that stage, because if I want to make money, it doesn't mean that I should open a coffee shop that focuses on coffee. In fact, ice cream shops might make more money, brunch places might make more money, but then I think there are some people who are staying true to like, I want to run a coffee centric place.
Yeah.
And they put themselves out there to take that risk. I applaud, and I still think that we need some people like that.
Thank you so much. It's a very good closing to our season, and you helped me a bit as well by giving a positive note. If the listeners, like most of them are either people are in the industry, small business owners, some of the bigger ones as well, professionals, home brewers, how can they, if they have questions for you or asking for your learnings,
just try to look for me.
how can they look for you?
Come to the morning show or the morning office, just DM me.
Yeah, just DM Leon on Instagram.
I made myself public.
Yeah.
So, but then I think it's good because a lot of people help me in my journey. And one of the bigger things, like I like to shout out to like the guys running Alchemist, example, because I also learn from the new generations who's starting up, and there's some of these amazing things that they're doing and products they're putting out there that I can also learn. So like I think with the sense of like helping, just sharing or understanding that journey, I think it's helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for the very insightful discussion. I think all of us learned a lot from you.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, we're gonna play a game as usual, but I think you're not new to the game. It's called Quick Shots. So 10 seconds to the answers. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
One thing you can't live without?
My wife.
Oh, so sweet.
It's true, but yes.
3 unique selling points of morning.
Convenience, quality, and I would say them coexisting together.
Best selling capsule.
We have this capsule called bread and butter. I think it takes a bit of the nostalgic feel of, we have coffee and toast, bread and butter in the UK. So that's our best selling capsule.
Your go-to comfort food.
Wow. Right now, I think the thing that keeps ringing in my mind is Teochew porridge. Not the congee kind, the watery kind.
Yes.
With like a bit of salted fish. Yeah. That's my comfort go-to dish.
What is your favorite origin?
I could drink Ethiopian coffee every day, washed also.
Thank you, Leon, for coming in today. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify and follow us on Instagram, Grind and Shine Podcast. Thank you, Leon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. See you. Bye.